let's say you're a woman, you're 40 years old, or whatever. But let's say you're 40 years old, and you go to a 1-hour Pilates class a week. You're busy with whatever, work, being a mom, like the things of life, but you've found time to go to a 1-hour Pilates class a week, and perhaps you go for a few walks throughout the week when you can. If all you have is that 1 hour outside those walks, perhaps to dedicate to your health and well-being, I guess then the further question is that the best use of your hour? Or might you, Stacey, argue that if you've only got an hour, you might want to do 3 20-minute strength training sessions instead of Pilates? Or help us think about that a little bit for the woman who's time pressed.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost who I talk to every day.
Okay.
Like women who are in their 40s, they're working, they're married, they have kids, or they have a partner and they're not married, but their lives are very full. I have a group of women who say they're the 5 a.m. club because they have to get up and get their stuff done and be back by 6 a.m. So fully understand that. So if we're looking at a woman who has maybe 1 hour a week that she can dedicate for herself, and then, like you said, throw in a couple of walks here and there, maybe after work or on the weekend, we have to look and focus on that 1 hour. What can we do? Maybe we can split that up into 3 20-minute strength training sessions, but that would require, 3 separate days, and maybe she only has that 1 hour. So if I were to look at that 1 hour, I would structure it into 3 20-minute segments, where the first one is we're doing lots of mobility work so that we make sure that we stay injury-free. So we're looking at opening the joint capsules and creating more range of motion. So it's not stretching, but it's working on proprioception. It's working on in range. It's loosening up the tendons and the ligaments. Then I would do 20 minutes of compound heavy resistance training. Then I would finish with some sprint interval work. So this would be 30 seconds, as hard as you can, 110% effort. And then you have 2 to 3 minutes full recovery. And you might do that 2 or 3 times. Assault bike's great for that. Maybe you're doing kettlebell swings. But that stimulus at the end of the mobility and the resistance training is what you need instead of a 35 or 40-minute HIIT class. So we're looking at that 1 hour, and you can do that once a week. That's a bare minimum that's going to help create the impetus for better body composition change and brain health. Because the other thing about heavy resistance training is it works on the neuroplasticity of the brain. And when we're looking at neuroplasticity, we want that because we want to be able to maintain our ability to have cognition and not experience cognitive decline.
Yeah.
And then you can look at your walks. Maybe one of your walks with your dog, you go, okay, well, instead of just going on this normal 3K walk with my dog, I'm going to take the dog and I'm going to divide that 3K up, and maybe I'm going to pick up the pace for a minute or two, and then I'm going to have a minute recovery. So you take that into a HIIT session. So there's ways of looking at what you're doing during the week, even if you are time constrained. I have some women who are on the early crew for the breakfast shows. So they're getting up at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning to be on set by 3:30 or 4. And they get up and they do a 10-minute high intensity with kettlebells to wake themselves up. But it also helps with the circadian rhythm shift that happens when you start doing those kind of night shifts. So there's things that we can do with very short amount of time that's going to maximize our adaptations to improve all the things that we need to improve for better metabolic and body composition.
Yeah, I guess so a helpful perspective or helpful framing for someone to think about this might be, once I become perimenopausal, I am undergoing certain hormonal changes. And there are 2 particular things that I need to be focused on in terms of my movement as I get older as a woman, right? Resistance training and HIIT training. So I guess you would argue, I think, that it's not that you're against Pilates or yoga or walking. Those things are all great and you would encourage those things. But you have to be aware that those things are not addressing a lot of those hormonal changes that are kicking in, right? So do them and do the other stuff. But if you can't find time for the other stuff, maybe that should be where your priority is first. Is that an accurate representation of how you would look at this?
Yep. If we have minimal time, let's make the maximum gains.
Yeah.
So if we have minimal time, let's make sure that we are working hard and recovering from that hard work.
Okay. So we have covered strength training, but I just want to make sure that it's super clear. Okay. So you mentioned that this is the power end of the spectrum. I'd love to understand what does that actually mean? And are you talking about, the heaviness of the weight? You also mentioned speed, right? So is it the speed at which you pick it up? Because I'm guessing that, a kettlebell swing, for example, depending on what weight you use, has got a degree of intensity to it. Whereas, I don't know, if you're doing a heavy deadlift, for example, are you asking women to not only pick up heavy, but also pick up heavy fast? Are both those inputs as important as each other?
So when we're looking at the strength training component, it's about lifting the heavy loads.
Okay.
So this is your 0 to 6, maybe 7 reps. We like to talk about it as reps and reserves, where I'll tell a woman, go pick up the dumbbell that you usually pick up for your shoulder press or your bench press. And then I tell her to put it down and pick up the next one. Okay, let's try to do that movement with the next one. How many reps can you do? Most of the time, they'll eke out 10 to 12. Tell them to put that down and pick up the next one. And that's their starting weight. Because most women are so conditioned to undervalue their strength, they don't lift heavy enough. So it is a phase in, because when we're talking about this, it's a learned skill. So if someone's never done any kind of resistance training, they're not going to hop into the really heavy loads right away. It could take up to 6 months to a year to learn how to lift heavy properly. So in that time frame, yes, you're going to be using lighter loads and more reps. You're trying to condition the muscle and the tendons and the ligaments. When we start adding the speed component in, that's part of strength training from a plyometric and an intensity standpoint. And that's different. So we can use that as a metabolic stress. But we're looking at specifically the power-based end of strength training. This is where we say it's the 0 to 6 to maybe 7, 8 reps. And we do a periodized program with that. Okay. And then if we're looking at the plyometric stuff, then that can be put into high intensity interval training, or it can be sprint interval training.
Okay, so for the strength training, you want to focus on power, lifting heavy, a weight that you can perhaps lift 6 to 7 times. And you want to repeat that. Like you do that, let's say you lift that weight 6 times, you have a rest, and then you repeat that a few times?
Well, this is where you have to look at what kind of programming you're doing.
Okay.
So we say a typical example is the 5x5, where you have 5 sets of 5 reps with 2 to 3 minutes between each set. So you would do 5 heavy deadlifts, rest 2 minutes, do another 5 heavy deadlifts, rest 2 minutes. And probably by the time you get to the 5th set of 5, you're like, I can't finish that 5. So you're almost to fatigue. And that would be a really good heavy lifting session. So when we're looking at 5x5, that's what we talked about.